Ever feel like you need to get your head around a really complex topic, like fast?
Yeah, without getting totally lost in the weeds of endless reports and jargon.
Exactly, especially with something like AI, artificial intelligence, stepping into, well, really crucial parts of society.
Hmm.
So that's what we're tackling today. Think of this as your shortcut, maybe. Getting the essentials from a whole stack of info about AI in Nepal.
Okay. Specifically in education and the justice system.
That's right. We've got insights from UNESCO discussions on education, articles from the Kathmandu Post looking at the courts, and some broader stuff too.
Got it.
Our mission, basically, is to pull out the key takeaways. The exciting possibilities, but also the genuine challenges.
Potential pitfalls.
Yeah, the pitfalls of putting AI into schools and courts there. It's this balance, isn't it, between innovation and, well, potential chaos, maybe.
It's a fine line.
So the big question we're kind of diving into is, can AI really revolutionize these systems in a place like Nepal with its own unique context?
Or are we maybe overlooking critical human stuff, practical hurdles, things that could cause real problems down the line?
Okay, let's try and unpack this. Where do we start? Education.
Yeah, let's start there. What's fascinating right away is this feeling of a potential leap forward.
Right?
The sources suggest AI could give Nepal this unique chance to modernize education pretty rapidly.
Like adaptive learning.
Exactly. That idea from the UNESCO talks AI tailoring the learning to each student's needs. That's powerful stuff.
It sounds great in theory. And what about the courts? Similar potential.
Well, the Kathmandu Post stuff highlights that ongoing issue of case backlogs. Huge delays.
Yeah, you hear about that a lot.
And AI offers this really tantalizing idea of speeding things up, processing cases way more efficiently.
Okay, so there's the promise. But let's go back to education for a second. You mentioned Vaikuntha Prasad Ariel from the Ministry of Education,
He makes a strong point about urgency.
saying Nepal needs to get on board with AI in education now or risk falling behind.
Which sounds logical, right?
It does, but then almost immediately the practical worries jump out.
Like what?
Well, the material doesn't ignore what, let's be honest, many of us are thinking. Won't students just use this to cheat?
Ah, yeah. The ChatGPT homework scenario.
Totally. I mean, you can just picture someone getting AI to write their essay while they're, I don't know, scrolling TikTok. It seems absurd, but it feels very real.
And what's interesting there is how that shifts the teacher's job, doesn't it?
How so?
Well, if AI can spit out a decent essay, the teacher's focus maybe moves from just grading the content to figuring out if the student actually wrote it.
Verifying authorship, that's a big change.
A fundamental shift in assessment, yeah. And how
Right.
you even teach.
And it's not just about catching cheating, is it? There's that bigger fairness issue.
Equity, yeah. Michael Croft at UNESCO apparently raised a red flag about potential chaos if
Yeah.
there's no clear plan.
Potential chaos sounds dramatic, but maybe accurate.
Well, the sources definitely highlight this risk that AI could make existing inequalities worse. You can easily imagine, say, well-funded private schools getting fancy AI tutoring systems,
Right.
while public schools are still struggling just to get reliable internet.
So the gap just gets wider, not exactly progress.
Exactly. So the question becomes, can Nepal actually ensure fair access to this stuff in schools?
Or does it just end up dividing students even more?
That's the core question for education, I think.
Okay. And do these kinds of challenges pop up in the justice system discussion too?
Definitely parallels. I mean, the vision of AI sorting files, scheduling hearings, tackling those massive backlogs we mentioned.
That efficiency dream again, from the Kathmandu Post articles.
It's very appealing, no doubt.
Sounds like a game changer. On paper, anyway. Fewer lost files, faster process.
But then you hit the reality of how law actually works.
It's not just about processing data, is it?
Not at all.
Yeah.
The sources make a good point. It involves human judgment, understanding culture, context.
Even just like watching a witness, seeing how they react.
Exactly. That gut feeling a judge might get, assessing credibility.
Ah.
Can an algorithm do that?
Probably not.
And this is where the limits really show up. The material gives this quite vivid example.
Oh, yeah.
An AI judge trying to sort out a property dispute that involves a sacred cow.
A sacred cow? Seriously?
Yeah. And it instantly shows how AI could just completely miss or misunderstand these really deep cultural or religious nuances in Nepal.
Wow. Okay. Relying only on past legal cases wouldn't capture that at all.
Not even close. The social factors, the religious meaning. AI isn't equipped for that complexity.
That image of an AI judge and a sacred cow, it's Kind of funny, but also deeply worrying, isn't it?
It really is. And then you add the whole issue of bias.
Right, the data it learns from.
If that data, the old legal cases, reflects existing biases in society or the legal system.
Then the AI just repeats and maybe even amplifies those biases.
Precisely. It's not neutral. It's trained on what we give it, flaws and all.
And on top of that, there's data security.
Hugely important. Courts deal with incredibly sensitive stuff.
Yeah.
Personal information, case details.
You'd need rock-solid security to stop breaches.
Absolutely critical.
Right.
If that kind of data got out, public trust in the whole system could just evaporate.
Yeah, okay. So another key question then. How can Nepal bring AI into its courts to get the efficiency gains
Right.
without losing that crucial human judgment, fairness, and critically keeping the data safe?
That seems to be the million-dollar question for the legal side.
So pulling this together, what's the path forward suggested by the sources? Is there a consensus?
It seems to boil down to one central idea, really.
Which is
AI should be a tool to assist, not replace.
assist teachers, assist judges.
Exactly. In schools, it helps personalize learning, makes things more engaging maybe,
Mm-hmm.
but doesn't just become a crutch students use without understanding.
Right, not just learning how to prompt in AI.
And in the courts, it speeds things up, organizes information, helps with the workload.
But doesn't make the final call, doesn't replace that human insight and empathy.
That seems to be the ideal outcome presented. More engaging learning, a faster, fairer legal system.
But it all hinges on how it's done, right?
Completely. Careful, thoughtful implementation. The material really warns against just rushing in without a proper strategy.
Because the downsides are pretty scary if you get it wrong.
You really are. You've got the risk of students just not learning.
Yeah.
And on the other side, the really alarming idea of AI judges making huge mistakes.
Like life sentences for traffic tickets kind of errors?
That might be extreme, but yeah, the potential for serious miscarriages of justice is there if the human element is removed carelessly. That's a future nobody wants.
Definitely not.
So ultimately, I think the sense from the material is one of cautious optimism.
Okay, cautious optimism.
The potential is exciting, genuinely, but only if AI is brought in responsibly.
With careful thought about Nepal's specific situation, its challenges.
And remembering those vital human elements in both education and justice, you can't just engineer them away.
Okay, so let's do a quick recap then. We've seen these tempting possibilities for AI in Nepal's schools and courts, smarter learning, faster justice.
The upside.
But we've also flagged some really serious challenges. Cheating risks, widening inequality in schools,
The equity gap.
the complexity of human judgment in law, potential bias in AI, and keeping sensitive data safe.
Big hurdle.
And the main takeaway seems to be this need for balance, right? Innovate, yes, but plan carefully, understand the risks.
Avoid those unintended consequences.
And for you, listening in, kind of getting your head around these nuances is really important, isn't it?
Yeah, increasingly so. As AI weaves itself into more parts of life, everywhere, grappling with these questions is crucial.
The balance between tech and human values, the potential for good and bad.
It matters whether you're a tech expert or not, or where you happen to live. These are becoming universal questions.
Okay, so maybe a final thought to leave you with. As AI gets more and more embedded in societies globally, what fundamental human skills, what values are going to be the most vital?
The ones we absolutely need to protect and prioritize in systems like education and justice.
Yeah, what becomes non-negotiable in an AI-driven world? Something to think about.